guys, I know it's been a while, uh, but I just wanted to upload some videos. A lot of growth and a lot of changes happen, and I hope that any of my subscribers, that they still are still subscribed or whatever. But yeah, just to share a few things. So I was watching a video this morning, and I think that in the video they brought up a really interesting question. So obviously, there's some philosophers I like and some philosophers I don't like. This was a philosopher I didn't like because he's involved in a lot of lies. But he talks about the how many numbers there are. So are there more natural numbers like one, two, three, or four, or are there more squared numbers? And then he figured if you line them up, you line the one, and then you have two, and then four, three, and nine. It makes a spiral. So there's the same amount of squared numbers as there are natural numbers. Um, and I don't know what you guys think about that. Obviously, you guys have to pray about the situation or what it is, but instantly, just the way I am as a person and just really the way God is, if you think about it, like he laughs at the wisdom of man and he laughs at the way they see things, because we can see things one way and then God will see it totally different. So a perfect example is the cross. Like when you look at the cross, you see suffering, shame, death, but God sees life, love, and perfection. So it's just a very interesting thing the way God is. He sees a different aspect. So I'm just going to share with you an aspect of this. So the question is very simple. This question is easy. Um, how many numbers are there? When people think, their natural first thought is, oh, there's an infinite amount of numbers. And if you go in the opposite direction, there's negative infinity and positive infinity, right? But what if I were to tell you there's only a small amount of numbers? Like how many? Fits on two hands. Would you? Yeah, that'd be crazy. But actually, that's the way God thinks. So when God sees men, how many men do you think he sees? Like, okay, well, just think about it. He knows the exact number of men on earth, right? Because he's all knowing. But when he sees men, there's only two types of men. There's children of God and there's children of Satan, right? That's what he says. He's going to separate the sheep from the goats, right? The goats go on his left hand. You got to remember, I'm going this way and that way, but the way it looks on a camera is like this is the right and this is the left, but it's actually the opposite. This is my right and this is our left. Because Jesus, when he's here, right, he says he's going to separate the sheep from the goats. So in terms of men, God only sees two types of men. He either sees men that are in Christ or men that are not in Christ. The sheeps or the lambs or the goats. Obviously, there's a caveat there, right? Because anytime you have two, right, you have an extreme, you have the one and the three, but you have a hidden middle. The middle is always hidden. So what's the middle? The middle are people who are yet to be a sheep, right? Like that's the middle. That's hidden to God. It's not hidden to God. It's obviously, he only sees those two. But for us, there are those people, the people that will become Christians. So that's how God sees. There's only two types of people, but there's a hidden third, right? Well, that the third is not the hidden. The second one is the hidden. There's people who will be sheep in the future, people who accept Christ later in their lives. So they right now they look like goats, but God knows their end destination. So that's just an idea, right? So God only sees two types of men in the world: those that are in Christ and those that are not in Christ. That's what he sees. And it's the same for mothers. So because women are naturally like more tied to this world, we can actually see this in the world. There's only four types of mothers. Like, what are you talking about, four types of mothers? And it's like, well, there's always been four mothers, right? If you look at Israel, how many mothers were there? You have Sarah, or you have Rachel, Leah, and then Rebecca and Sarah. Those are the mothers of the Israeli nation, right? The Israel people. Those are their mothers. Just like the patriarchs, you have Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So he only sees four types of mothers, but even then, right, you can go back in humanity. How many mothers do you see? What do you mean go back? Well, you go back. Look at Noah, right? Noah, there was 8 people on the boat. 8 is a very significant number. Maybe that'll be the next video. Probably be wearing the same clothes. But 8 is a very significant number to God. So it's pairs of 4. So you have Noah and his wife. Then you have Shem, Ham, and Japheth and their wives, right? 4 mothers. And you can actually see this. Like, you receive your mitochondria from your mother's side. The energy or the work that comes from your mother's side. So when they do these DNA tests and they find out that these super African looking people actually European, it's because they have a European mother, right? And that's what it is. They're only doing a mitochondrial test. And there's only 4 types. They have subtypes or whatever now. Like, obviously they're trying to throw people off the loop. But it is only 4 types. There's branches in that, but there's only 4 types of mothers. And you can see that clearly inside of someone, who their mother is and what mothers they come from. So that's actually a beautiful thing. Like, God has never left himself without witness. So now, back to how many numbers are there? So we've talked about it. 2 types of men, right? Really 3, right? That we can see, but God only sees 2. And then, because he sees the beginning from the end. And then there's 4 types of women. So now how many numbers are there? Along this same train of reasoning, right? Because this is how God thinks. He always does things in 3s. Along the same train of reasoning, there's only 9 numbers. 9 numbers, right? And so if we look at that, it was like, wow, that fits in my hand. There's no way that all these 9 numbers fit in my hand. But this is going to take a little bit of getting used to. So if you think about the way God thinks, when he creates everything, right? You see, it's all about division. He divided the waters from the waters. He separated the light from the darkness, right? He gathered the waters into one place and dry land appeared. It's all about division, right? So everything is dividing. And if you divide, you never get an end to division. But now, at the end of things, right, he's consolidating everything into one. Right? And of course we know as Christians or if you're not a Christian, then maybe you don't know, but that one is Christ. And Christ is the firstborn of new creation. So that's the one. Jesus is that one that he's consolidating everything into. So if we take that same understanding of the way God thinks, at the beginning he's dividing, because he starts with whoever he is and he's just dividing. So now, at the end of all things, it's going back to one. So if you have numbers, you have to make them go back to 1. So this is the easiest way to see it. So 1, just do the number 10, right? That's a number in and of itself, but what family does it belong to? So just the same way, a man is either a part of Christ, a part of his body, or not a part of Christ, right? Not a part of his body. That's the way God sees it, and just the way the mothers. Your mother, when you receive your information or your mitochondria from your mother's side, what mother did she belong to? You go all the way back, right? And they're either one of those 4. Noah's wife, Ham's wife, Japheth's wife, or Shem's wife, right? You can see that. That's the family that they belong to. So what family would you guys say that 10 belongs to? 10 is very easy. Like, that's why I use 10, because 10 is an easy one to understand. If you count by 1s, it's the same as counting by 10s. When you teach little kids, it's harder for them to do 2s and 5s, but it's easy for them to do 10s. So that's usually how they learn to count in 10s, and that's like their first step of multiplication. It's like, oh, okay, if I count by 10s, it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, because it's the same as counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because we know that this 0, right, this 1 and this 10, right, this 0, just think about it that way. If you have 1 and 10, this 0, you really just see the 1, right? But now do that with all numbers, right? So let's say this is 1 and this is 10, right? This is 10, so you add them together. So 1 plus 0 is what? It's 1, right? And then we do the same thing with 11. So 11 is 1 plus 1 is 2. So 11 is of the family of 2. The same way you can be either a daughter of the wife of Noah, right? Or you can be in Christ or outside of Christ. 1 and 1 is of the family of 2. This is the way God sees things. And it may be, this isn't the only way he sees things, but it's the main way that he sees things. And that's when he's looking down at numbers. Each number has its own representation. That could be a different video also, where I tell you how God sees each individual number. It took time for God to show me certain numbers, like 9 took forever. 7 is very confusing. I've done a video already on 7. 7 is super confusing, but once God explains it, it's just very easy to understand. 8 is super obvious. I guess I hope that would be to everybody, but depending on who you are, 8 might not be obvious. I can understand if you grew up in the religious system of Judaism, 8 would be a difficult thing to understand. The only thing they know about 8 is the circumcision, and that's when they receive a name. So it's very interesting, but it'd be a difficult thing for them to understand 8, just like it was a difficult thing for me to understand 9. But either way, it's all the same, right? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. So Jesus is obviously the first and the last. So if you ask yourself, okay, if he's the first and the last, what does that mean? Which one is he, right? He's the first and the last. So if he's the first and the last, most people would say he's 1. Okay, he's 1 in 9. But that's actually not true. The first is always rejected. We've talked about that. That's one of God's patterns. The first is rejected, the second's accepted, and the third is fruitful. The first and the last have to be the same. So Jesus is not actually 1 in 9, because 1 is still something. When Jesus came as a man, he emptied himself. Which number represents emptiness? Oh, we already talked about that. 0. 0 represents emptiness. Oh, that's interesting. Which number represents fullness? Well, what's the fullness? It's 9. And that's the way God sees things, because when he sees something empty, he must fill it. So 0 and 9 are the same number. That'll be a different video, and I can prove it to you like through mathematics. It's very easy. Like, God shows himself in everything. And numbers is the easiest way to understand God, because numbers don't lie. It's a pure thought. You attach things to numbers, and then that's when things get skewed. But numbers are just interactions of feelings and thoughts of God. And that's what they are. So when God sees numbers, right? And this is going to be crazy. Like, if God sees you, what number are you? Like, he'll have to tell you. I already know what number I am. But it depends on how he sees you. It'd be really cool. Like, just think about it, talk to God about it, because that is a very interesting thing. So the number God, just tell him. So the number God sees me as is 58. 5 and 8. You add 5 and 8 together, that's 13. You add 1 and 3 together, that's 4. So I'm a 4. I'm in the family of 4. So whatever God, and that's just one of the special numbers that God has in my life. But that's one of the ways that he sees me is 58. I don't know if that's like a ranking system or whatever, but God has shown me in my life that that's the way he sees me. And there's other people who share that same number. Who else shared the number 58? Noah. Noah shares the number 58. Grace shares the number 58. And people who've shared the number 4, like, we can see that. And this is just how God has to start. Once he starts teaching you the way he thinks, or he reveals to you the way he thinks, whether it's through me, because hopefully he never reveals it through me. Hopefully you're just talking about this, and hopefully you get mad at what I say. Like, it's more beautiful if you get mad at what I say, and then you actually get mad at me, and then God defends me in your mind and in your spirit. Because then that way he'll teach you. And that's actually more beautiful for God to teach you. But the people who receive it like children, you have to still receive it from God. Don't receive it from me. Don't try to find out these things. God will show it to you. It's not about searching. Everything that's given is given by God. If you want to know, then just ask him. You don't have to search it out. Like, I didn't search these things out. He gave them to me. So I hope that you guys would just either pray about it or talk to God about it. Because this is certainly like a conundrum that is like all these men, right? They have this conundrum. There's infinite amount of numbers, and what is infinity? What is a natural number? Like non-real numbers, imaginary numbers, negative numbers, like all these different things. Like, God looks at the wisdom of man and laughs at it, because they don't understand what numbers are. And of course, I've already told you, numbers are thoughts and feelings that God has. and you can't get those mixed up. Once you understand the numbers and what he feels about these numbers, then it's easy to see when you put them together what they are. So it's beautiful. Just pray about it, talk to God about it, and just peace and love in Christ, I guess.